Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adfar Tech Venture podcast. And I'm the host of the show, Sonal Shah. Today, welcoming you all in this beautiful podcast where you are going to listen and learn something new every day. So, today we have a very special guest joining us, Andrew Walton. He is the Managing Director of the Sports Tech World Series based in Melbourne, and Andrew has been instrumental role playing in establishing STWS as a leading hub for sports innovations and technology in the Southern Hemisphere since 2015. So, with a wealth of experience in business intelligence, team building, and performance management, Andrew brings a unique perspective to our discussion today. So, from me as well as from all at Tech Venture podcast team, welcoming Andrew Walton in our today's episode. So, Andrew, please welcome to today's episode, and we are really grateful to have you today with us. Thank you so much for joining this podcast.
Sunil, thank you so much for having me as we join hands across the ocean, yourself in India and myself in Melbourne, Australia. We're very fond, and I've been very fortunate over many years to travel to India, money through cricket and technology. Have had many good experience in Karnataka, through Bangalore and Mysore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and thank you for letting me be part of the conversation today.
That's a great, yeah. So thank you so much, Andrew, for these wonderful introductions, and especially when I knew that you had also been to India so many times. So it's a great thing to connect with the people that you already know India. So thank you so much. So, Andrew, if you permit me, I would also like to give a brief introductions about my organization.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as I said, Adfar Tech Venture, is a IT and a tech platform with focus on IT solutions, IT resources, recruitments, and this kind of a tech audio podcast. And we have a vendor alliances with the 50 plus tech partners. It includes almost all the kinds of SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, Pega, OutSystem, APN, Salesforce, Cloudera, Informatica, and many more too. And we provide almost all the kinds of key solutions, which includes ERP, application development, then data, AI/ML, blockchain, cloud managed services, UX, UI, DST, and the cyber security too. And the major skills which we have is we have more than 2,000 resources all across the skills. So we can deliver both on-site and offshore within the 24 hours. So that's the major capability we have, because in IT, that's the major requirements and major attrition. So we can provide any kinds of a support in terms of IT, tech, as well as a solution provider. And with this podcast, we love to hear views of visionary tech leaders, and through their journey, through their views and latest tech innovations and other invaluable insights and trends, we ourselves also learn, as well as our audience is also learning. So that's the main motto behind this podcast. And when we had seen your LinkedIn bio and experiences also, that we know that you are the one who can also, provide the contributions to our podcast. And so we have selected you. So that's the, beauty of a podcast, that we can share our learning, we can collaborate with each other, and we can share something to the audience. So thank you so much, Andrew, for giving us this opportunity to collaborate with you and giving us your expertise and time with this podcast. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Sunil. Thank you for the introduction and awareness. And just by way of background, so before STWS, which I've become involved with recently, I've been a supporter and a partner of Sports Tech World Series, yet my own personal background is actually on the product and platform side, that goes back to the turn of the century, when websites were first coming through, and myself and a few partners built a cricket management platform that was used extensively throughout Australia. But to give it a comparison to today, most Indian cricketers, male, female, juniors, seniors, will be familiar with a platform called Crick Heroes, which is outstanding, a remarkable platform. So if you can imagine that our business, Interact Sport in Australia, we created what was Cricket Heroes 20 or so years ago, when players like Aaron Finch, Dave Warner, and Usman Khawaja were still playing under 14 cricket. And their junior records were on our platform, which was called Results Vault, which then became My Cricket with Cricket Australia. And then in turn, we also dealt with the ECB through Play Cricket, in turning into a mobile product. So personally, have lived through the experience of taking a platform from purely a website that did something into a website that was then mobile responsive, then into a native mobile app when iPads and iPhones started to become available. And then eventually it moved into what we know now as live scoring and live streaming through a mobile app. And that was my history through the sport technology element. And Interact Sport, we sold that business. So we were a startup that became a scale-up, employed 30 people at our peak, servicing clients across the world. And we sold that to Sport Radar in 2021. Yet what I was able to do over many years was, apart from developing the business in the Southern Hemisphere, was able to test some of the logic with my friends and colleagues throughout the Indian cricket community. And that's where that came from. So I sort of have gone from, I suppose, a product performance and delivery, but also seen that evolve from desktop application into tablet or portable device, and then into purely now a mobile device. And now as a cricket coach as well, so I'm an accredited level 3 cricket coach. Have a platform called Cricket Mentoring, which is part of the reason why we come to Bangalore regularly. But if our under 10s, if their games are not being live scored, they are very unhappy. So they expect. So the juniors coming through today expect all their stats and data to be involved. And just for context, Sunil, when we first developed the platform many years ago, if you were trying to find Ricky Ponting's junior record, you physically had to go to his cricket club and virtually take the scorebooks off the shelf to see what happened. Whereas now you can trace Aaron Finch's a career back to his club Geelong, to his boyhood club in Colac. You can trace Usman Khawaja back through the western suburbs. So that's all expected now, that their whole Pat Cummins back to Penrith. You can trace them all back. So that's my background in technology.
Great. So you are doing a very interesting, as well as, something different with the tech, as well as the words, favorite game. So that's the best part of your job. So thank you so much for giving us the wonderful introduction, as well as a background journey experience, what you have traveled. So Andrew, if I add some question into that, what have been the key milestone at the development along this journey for you?
I think seeing sport being a great connector for people to come together, and the expectation that data in sport is important from competition, from player performance, but now it's being linked into vision and content. And that's where with STWS, with Sports Tech World Series, we see ourselves as being an entity which is able to bring people together to share the information, share the knowledge. We can connect startups with investors. We can connect partners to collaborate. We can highlight the progress in the tech industry around innovation. We have an awards event each year. And we also work very closely with a number of government entities to try and bridge that gap between commercial, professional industry, government innovation, government support, and those who, like myself, Sunil, our first 4 years of our business, our servers were maintained in our bedrooms. We didn't have, this is before cloud. So apart from being coders and developers, we also were systems maintenance. Okay. So it's really wanting to sort of bring that experience into the current world, and understanding that with the device functionality, and with the emerging technologies in AI and streaming, there are so many good things out there, but we don't need to we don't necessarily need to reinvent the basics, because it all comes down, a person, an individual will play an individual sport or play a team sport or play for a club. And being able to support that journey of their experience with different forms of technology so they can connect with not only their coaches, their teammates, but also connect with their families who may not be there. So we used to get in the early days as much email or messages from people who were travelling across Europe or England, keeping track of games in Australia because the information was available and they weren't reliant upon a newspaper to find out what had happened. They could go to a direct portal. So we've had many sort of success stories from these engagements. And one little one is that in recent years where we had a New Zealand-based startup doing a coaching platform. The technology was really good, Sunil, yet their market scale in New Zealand wasn't quite there for what they needed. So we were able to introduce them to an Australian company that was servicing junior sport, not only in Australia, but also in the UK. And that brought a level of scale, and then they attracted some investment. And it's a good example where we've been able to listen and hear things that were around, join people together, let them work out the details, but make it like you're holding hands through a warm introduction phase rather than where do I go? Who do I talk to? How do I find it? And that's where I think that through what we deliver with the event with Australia Sports Innovation Week, and wanting to be a leader, not ourselves as being, but being a leader as a conduit, as a connector, as a group of people who have lived through the experiences I've described, but able to share that knowledge with others. And part of that also, so just to finish with, I'm very fortunate being able to sit on some boards, some advisory panels, and you just grow connections through your time in the industry where you're able to speak openly with people with confidence that, we have lived your life. We've lived we understand what it's like to have to find the money to pay the IT bill, but also pay your 10 staff or 12 staff that you're putting food on the table for.
And that shows how, you are connected, and now you are not only just connected, but you yourself are grown up with the STWS evolutions and impact over the years. So that's how you have influenced your people, your team, and has grown up. So that's the great, the things which shapes you are going and moving forward. So very good answer you have given, Andrew. So Andrew, could you share with our audience that what are the current technology or current solutions that Sports Stakeholder Series employs to enhance the sports innovation experiences, and how do these technologies contribute to the success of ASIW and other events under the?
Yeah, good question, Sunil. Thank you. And for the moment, we've gone through a phase where we've divided our influence and capability into three key segments, being technology, being business, and being talent. And we found that innovation and technology flows between all three, because if I go back in time, when Sports Tech World Series first started in 2015, the team then, they ran conference events and knowledge events in Melbourne, Mumbai, London, Dallas, Tokyo, and Amsterdam. And that was an annual experience up until, obviously, we all had a few years where the pandemic stepped in and things changed. We were able to re-emerge in 2021, 22, where the event for the last 2 years has been in Brisbane. This year we're bringing it back to Melbourne. We've shifted though from trying to be just a one-day event around technology. We've recognised that it's shifted. It's no longer about purely platforms or products. That the technology is part of it. The technology can be broadcasting, streaming, data capture, fan activation, performance analytics, research and sports science, and now as we're seeing AI or VR. Yet also understanding that the audience for technology, yes, there's a high level elite performance broadcast global network. There's also a very, very large community grassroots network, and then also there's a growing industry where we have to be consciously aware of those with disability or those who have accessibility requirements, whether it be visual accessibility, hearing accessibility, or neuro. So technology now has a much, much broader audience to connect with in some way, or people to service. Around that, the business side, we are seeing a huge increase in VC coming from non-traditional finance institutions. We're seeing a number of athletes wanting to invest into sport business. We're seeing teams investing in sports business. We're seeing recently in Mumbai, when I was sitting with Disney, I was unaware that Disney in Mumbai, they have a startup incubator where they invest in a number of businesses each year. And that is so encouraging to hear, so encouraging to learn. But then we're also seeing, Sunil, in the academic space, the institutions, many of the Australian academic institutions are now, they're billion-dollar commercial entities. And part of what they're wanting to offer their students is, yes, there's a learning experience. Yes, you're here to share knowledge. Yet, how about we help support your ideas become a commercial reality that comes from that academic base? So there's those sides on the business aspect as well that we deal with. And talent is then recognizing, Sunil, that the talent isn't always in front of the camera. Yes, it is. The players are there, the teams are there. Yet in sport, innovation and technology also is what's behind the camera, whether the way it's being broadcast, the way it's being commentated, the content, the analysis, the branding, the creative, or the new media models, because now we're sort of seeing a significant rise where new media is emerging through podcasts, through blogs, through social channels, through TikTok, through wherever it may be. There's no limit. So an example like Viacom in India through the IPL, they have 120 what they call commentators or talent that part of their team overall. And they're not all cricket experts. They don't need to be, but they need to be able to tell a story. They need to be able to understand the tribal interests. They need to be able to understand their community. And those areas now, just to finish with, so technology, business and talent is how we're bringing all these things together to share the experience with Sports Tech World Series and recognise that it's a very, very much broader industry than relying upon a governing body or a network to make things happen.
It's wonderful and impressive use of, I can say, advanced technologies as well as enrich each and every community members' experiences and drive together innovations. So yeah, that's a great thing, Andrew. And when you say that, now it's not necessary to be into the, exact skill or exact proper into that field. But when you are enriched with your content, the way you want to deliver your service or the way you want to showcase your on these things, it makes a large difference and it makes you something different compared to other. So that's the best thing you have said through this answer. So thank you so much, Andrew, for this wonderful response that you have given. So, Andrew, my next question is, like you had said many times that you have a team of 15 to 20 people or more than 30 or so somewhere. So which, this is something a different field, man. You are including tech as well as sports, as well as some innovations and, media and all. So what kind of tech skill persons you are, having in your team or in future also, if you want to hire something, what is the best skills or?
The skills we're looking for, Sunil, are somebody who's curious and someone who's willing to check, reflect, and connect. And why I say that is because it's not hard to be guided by the algorithm for knowledge. So for me, sport is all about connections, and that's a human connection in some way. It may be online through message, but it's actually two people or more people having a relationship which is meaningful. Because I'm very blessed that I have a regular dialogue with some friends who I've never met personally, yet have worked with the Mumbai Indians, have worked with Manchester United, and I get so much knowledge and information from their experience. Yet I do it with confidence because I know they're not just sending around links of something they've seen or has had so many likes. They've actually checked it, they've reflected, and they've connected with someone to make sure it's valid. So that comes back to someone who's curious, and it's someone who's not expecting that what I'm seeing necessarily is 100% correct all the time. Also people who are confident in being expressive with their beliefs, because a significant part of what we're doing is around content or broadcasting or some form of media, and it's okay to have an opinion. Sort of encourage that boldness sooner, where as long as we're not being derogatory or critical unnecessarily, having an opinion is okay. But it's also recognizing that there are so many areas that we've also got to have the right balance where health and well-being is an important part of the type of character or people that we're looking for, where they're able to step away from the screen, step away from technology, open their eyes wide, look up to the sky, and let their mind think what can be possible, or why are they doing something, or how could they do it maybe better, how could they do it differently, and what are the outcomes or consequences from that. And then just to finish with someone who's got a thirst for education, and education can come from many sources. It can come from traditional sources through academia. Yes, it can come from online, but also comes from the network. So people who are wanting to extend their network and extend their connection, because ultimately, Sunil, we can get to anybody in the world if we really want to. It's not that hard if we really want to make an effort to find something out. So that's the basic overview of sort of what we're looking for people to be part of either our team directly or working on some of our projects.
Correct. So it's a strategic approach, as well as, not hiring on the basis of educations. And nowadays, I also feel that, the people are very, very, very top talented as well as multi-talented also, with a specialized skill that is not being educated. So this, very good and growth seems through different kinds of technology evolvements. Also, I can see that, many people, when you are saying, that is a very right one you had used, that if you are bold with your opinions, then you can be fit for any kind of a role, because nowadays it's a most required. Many people has an opinion, but only if you can claim that this is the right or this is the wrong. So that's the very right thing you had say.
Thank you.
So yeah. So Andrew, my next question is when you are saying that there is so many events and so many things are going on. So could you provide some insight into the typical tech budget allocations for this initiative? Because this all requires, when you are doing the broadcasting, there are so many investments and so many things, innovations, as well as to check the efficiencies are required. So how do you manage everything at your base?
Yeah, in reference to giving some guidance or support to a business to establish themselves in this space. Yep. So from a budget perspective, I think you have to recognise that it's wonderful to have an idea and think that somebody is going to want to utilise it, and that's good. My background, I came from a history where we probably made a mistake back in the early days where everyone believed the internet was for free, yet we were a subscription model. We didn't rely upon advertising; it was purely a fee for service, and that taught me many good practices in recognising that we can accept or believe how maybe clever or smart or intelligent our platform product service is. However, you're not selling it to yourself. somebody has to pay $1 for it somewhere for you to continue growing. And I always sort of guide people coming through in that, right? Just imagine that you're going to release a product and give yourself 6 to 12 months where you try to create some revenue from somewhere. Where's that come from? Is it a grant? Is it support funding? Is it VC? Is it a subscription service? Is it partnering? But what does that look like in the first year? And it might be $10 or it might be 100 rupee, whatever it may be. It's okay. Yet in that second year, if you really are wanting to grow and scale your business, my advice is think about how you can possibly get that beyond $1 million. So if you can get that to a 7-figure sum and beyond, then you're starting to think about scale, and you're thinking about not only taking care of yourself and paying yourself a decent wage, but paying people or paying back investors, or you're creating something which is commercially significant. So that then understands, okay, to achieve that scale, what are the costs? What are my cloud costs? What are my people costs? Thankfully today, Cernal, we in our industry, we don't have to be encumbered by costs of buildings or rent or capital unnecessarily, because we can work from anywhere. Providing you've got access to Wi-Fi, we can do something. So I sort of always try and encourage people to say, let's just, good idea, tick, happy. What revenue can you achieve in the first year? Is that enough to cover the cost of the business? Right. Does that second year, can we get it beyond 7 figures? And what's the path to get there? So even having, that simple projection, it creates aspiration, it creates inspiration, and it means that when you start to move beyond yourself or your small team into a bigger team, that those people are sharing a vision, they're sharing an expectation. You may not hit those, but you've got to have it's like playing, every game of cricket we play, we expect to have a scoreboard, don't we? And magnificent India beat Australia last night in the T20 final, but every game deserves a scorecard to know what's going on at any point in time. And I think part of that budget also is if you want to take yourself properly in the outside world, and this is beyond coffee catch-ups and DMs, you have to physically be present at events like the Sports Innovation Week experience. There's many, many conferences around the world you can attend to. There's leaders in sport that I think are partnered with RCB in Bangalore. There's many, many things you should on your calendar. You should have for your team and yourself. I would suggest 3 to 4 events per year that you go to collect knowledge. Now, to go to an event, you've probably got to allow somewhere between, and I'll speak in US dollars soon if that's okay. I mean, just allow from a budget somewhere between 2,000 up to maybe 10,000 per person as a budget. But that's for your own personal development. That's for your professional development. And in some cases, that's not even one new customer to get a return back. But you've got to be in your budget, have some allocation for business development. How are we going to do that in real life? How are we going to do that with real people? And where do we need to go to do that? And sometimes, just to finish with, sometimes you might find there are grants available for some form of either government support or incubator support or innovation support that you need to be aware of to help support your initiative.
That's the best thing. And when you knows where to invest, at what time to invest, and what will be the outcome at a expected risk, that is the best way to manage the budget as well as equally growing with the having whatever we have. Mm-hmm. So that's a very good strategic approach that you have selected. So Andrew, now my next thing goes to something about the future and cutting edge technologies. So as we all know that, the innovations in the sports tech often relies heavily on this cutting edge technologies. Mm-hmm. Earlier it was more broadcasting, now it's a podcasting. Earlier it was just the commentary, now it's not the commentary, but it's also a live, the station providing the full information on the different sports and medias also. So how do you see these technologies enhance the overall participants' experiences and drive business outcomes according to you?
Yeah, good question. So no, well, definitely what we're seeing is a greater intersection of various areas that cover around sport. And an example there is um, how venues and stadiums are operating as far as their fan engagement, their accessibility at venues, the analytics and data that comes from the experience and the performance of the athletes. There are so many ways that innovation's intersecting, and you had a tremendous example there recently with the IPL final where RuPay had a token on a band that replaced the ticket for the attendee, and they're able to use the token to purchase offline products inside the venue. Yet when they left the venue, that token, that wristband, which was a collectible signed by Pat Cummins from Hyderabad Sunrisers, then became a token that you could use with RuPay for your travel, for merchandise or convenience stores outside the ground with authentication. Yet that typically would have been someone's bought a ticket and given that ticket at the venue to get inside. Now, all of a sudden, that fan has, yes, they bought their ticket, but their ticket is a collectible item for that match, an IPL final, that they can then use as a function to actually get home and or buy things afterwards, which is connected to their team. So that's an innovation where we're seeing the intersection of various elements of the fan. Then we're seeing things like, if I use how the game is now being broadcast, and how it's being presented to the audience, where we're seeing things like watch parties become more prevalent. Where yes, the game is on, and but the game is being watched on a screen, and that screen could be something at a venue, or the screen could be a mobile. It's OTT, it's digital, which is all about choice when the person wants to watch it, and they could have multiple camera angles. And soon, I'll just speaking as a parent. So my two youngest sons are 12 and 9. They get all their sport from all around the world on either YouTube or a streaming platform. So last Saturday morning, my 9-year-old gets me up to watch France versus Netherlands at 5:30 a.m. and we're watching that on a streaming service. But he's a 9-year-old in Melbourne, Australia, who's fully aware of Van Dijk and Mbappe, who didn't play, but he's a fan, and he's never been to a game in his life. But he knows already, Ethan knows, Chanel, that we have at home a screen, we can watch it. It's on. Now the same equivalent could be watching the same broadcast, but in their own native language, not necessarily English broadcast. Watch parties, he could be watching it with his friends, with his headset on, and they're chatting while the game. So they're watching the match. They're not listening to the commentary on the broadcast. They're listening to the commentary of maybe a person they want to hear in a language that they want to hear. And in the background, they're chatting as a watch party. So it's almost like they're at the game, sitting around the game together, but they're not. And then we're seeing innovations like HeroCam. So where if from a digital perspective, OTT, if you wanted to focus on a particular player at certain times, you're able to, whether that be from drone cam overhead, mobile cam around the boundary. You can also then interact with the player or teams through avatars, through emojis, through stickers, through skins. And the other innovation too is Sunil, again, I'm speaking as a parent, my youngest two children, they will never know cash. They will never use cash in their life, but they will understand tokens, they'll understand crypto, they'll understand rewards points, and they'll understand credit cards. So they'll be comfortable across different areas, and we're seeing that replace the traditional commercial systems that would be involved with sport. And then we haven't even touched on where artificial intelligence is going, as far as being able to provide quality analytics and data live in, and probably one of the best examples of that in recent times, Chanel, is Live Golf. So some of the innovation we're seeing with Live Golf, where you've got individual players inside teams competing head to head with detailed analysis of every shot they've played against the match they're in, against their history, but also projecting what comes next is now becoming standard. So there's a whole range of things there that we're seeing, and that can't come from, I think, just to finish with on that, best thing about sport, and this is, I suppose, using cricket as an example, which I'm really passionate about, is tournaments like the IPL bring together so many people from so many backgrounds and allows knowledge and intelligence and innovation to be shared. And the sharing generally comes from the players, from the coaches, from the team managers, from the sports scientists, from the analysts. It's not waiting for Cricket Australia to tell them how to do it. They're actually working out. Glenn Maxwell gets to sit in a dressing room with Virat Kohli, with Faf du Plessis. And from that experience, Glenn Maxwell gets to come back to an Australian team and talk to Travis Head, Dave Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Ashton Agar, and the knowledge and information shares. And so I think that across that area, what we're seeing as far as the future, it's being more comfortable in sharing the experience, but recognising that if you're an expert in Australia only, that's okay. Yet we are a very small market. And Australia, importantly, I think, though, because of our reputation being able to deliver events of scale and having venues like the MCG, which is iconic globally in Melbourne, but also with the Brisbane Olympics on 2032, we've got this, there's a lot of World Cups and activities before then. Australia is a very good testing platform for innovation in sport, because we've got a rugby league match tonight. So rugby league, just for the listeners who know, so rugby league is played mostly in New South Wales and Queensland. There's a match in Melbourne tonight in Victoria, so a non-traditional rugby league market, but there'll be 90,000 people at the MCG to see it. So sport is very good at bringing people together. But how that's then being delivered, just to finish with, is, so my children now 9 and 12, they just see a screen. They don't understand networks, and they don't need cash. But they'll be engaged with sport all over the world.
Yes, that's the best and innovative use of, especially when you say that your children are playing, I can also assume the things that, VR and especially this sensor analytics, sensor tools that are there to give, the greater experience and elevate the participants' engagement to drive, tangible as well as some not.
Totally. Sorry, the other thing, just one other thing as well, Sina. Sorry, also very important, and this is, again, I think the future, it allows a sports person, whether it be female or male, they can become a superstar. They can become a hero of the next generation, because I've seen it firsthand over here. So my children watch as much cricket, which is the WBBL or the WIPL, and they are much a fan of Ash Gardner and Elise Perry as Glenn Maxwell or Pat Cummins. And because they can see it and they can be inspired and interested in the contest and the teams, my children don't see gender. They just see sports people who are playing the game, and they want to be like that. So I think, just to finish with, the future sports tech innovation has got the ability to create a better exposure, awareness, understanding of excellence in sport, no matter whether it be male, female, disability, Paralympics, it's all there.
Yeah, really, really, very true, and wonderful. I think when I see, the female person is growing, they have something, learn from their children. But when I hear you, I can also see that you are learning from your children. So that's wonderful. Yes. Good to know. Yeah, so looking ahead, what do you envision as the future of sport tech innovations in the Southern Hemisphere? And what are the emerging trends or technologies that you believe that will going to significantly impact the industry in the coming years?
Yeah, so just to finish on that, Sunil, we're really wanting to continue to extend Sports Innovation Week to embrace everything around those themes of technology, business, and talent. And that can be, a conference where we're bringing together between, over 1,000 people on one day at the MCG. Yet around that, on the days before and the days after, there'll be separate either learning circles, roundtables, symposiums, showcases around startup, disability sport, academic white papers, content and new media innovation, sports career pitches, connecting investors and VCs with startup. We've got planned, and one of the reasons why I travelled to India, we've got planned an India innovation showcase because we do want to make people fully aware of what Shisha is doing with RuPay, what Star Sports. So Star Sports were able to release the Steve Smith AI avatar who was broadcasting live in 12 different languages. I can assure you, as much a fan I am of Steve Smith, he does not have 12 languages. But also allowing the delegates to come along, Sunil, and be able to do immersive activities. So an example there is that RMIT, an academic institution in Melbourne, they have a separate engineering analysis plant where they do all the Formula One race car wind tunnel engineering analysis. And we want to give people the ability to go and see those things and see it in real life and touch it and taste it and hear it and ask questions of the people directly. We want to be able to provide immersive experiences where delegates can attend a disability or all abilities experience and find out how sport with people who are between the age of 15 and 20 is such an important part of their personal development. Yet they'll never be elite. They'll never be high performance. Yet they'll be as much a fan of RCB or Bengaluru FC than anybody else, and they deserve to be. And see how their experience is through their fans' eyes. So we want to sort of continue Sports Innovation Week to being more than just platforms and products. It's about experiences. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about having, we're expecting up to 200 international delegates attending this year. We think Melbourne's a greater draw card. We had 110 last year in Brisbane. Yet it's really wanting to bring people together and either being confident and wanting to present where they think things are going, or being able to connect with new people or new businesses or rekindle past relationships and find out what the best future is for them. In a quality environment, because we're very, very proud, very pleased to be able to work with the MCG, a venue which is very dear to many of us.
It's very good, very good. Very excellent journey you have traveled, and especially when you are so much involved with the sports yourself, it's become very interesting things, to work with. So that's the beauty of the business that you are doing and running across the, regions. So thank you, Andrew, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. And it's really been enlightening to hear about, the incredible work you are doing in the intersection of the sports, business, and technology. So, Andrew, before we wrap up our podcast, can you just remind our listeners how they can connect with you and what if they want to learn more about STWS and stay updated on the future endeavors? So, can you please, tell yourself that how.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sunil, and I welcome connections. So please reach out, be comfortable. So the website destination is very simply stws.co. That's stws.co. That's our website. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Walton, Walton. It's a surname, or feel free to email andrew@stws.co. And you'll find me there. And I'm sure that if you've had a check of my profile on LinkedIn, we'll be able to uncover a way to connect or a relationship that may be in place, and openly invite, Sunil, anybody in your community. And the other part too is generally I come to India every April because I selfishly come when the IPL's on. That's my indulgence, and generally also in September. So generally, I'm going to be around in at least Bengaluru and Mumbai in those months. So if it helps to do something in person, let's make it happen.
Sure, definitely we would be like to be in touch with you personally also. So it's a wonderful collaborations will be. So Andrew, thank you so much for joining this podcast and giving your valuable insights about how the sports runs and how the things are going inside STWS. So thank you so much for having this podcast, and thank you so much for being there to give your time and expertise with us. So, dear listeners, if you have any questions, as Andrew has given us remarks, that you can join that with the LinkedIn as well as with his website. And to know more about the Adfar Tech Venture, you can go to Adfar Tech Venture podcast page, and there you can find all the episodes. Especially today's episodes will be also live within a week. So you can find Andrew Walton over there also, as well as through their LinkedIn page also. So that is all about today's podcast, and we are just wrapping up this podcast. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much, listeners, to give your time and your curiosity that is making the podcast more live. So until next time, stay curious and keep innovating with the Adfar Tech Venture podcast. Thank you so much for joining.